Imagine the shock of coming home to find your prized Jeep, the one that's more than just a vehicle, it's a lifeline to your dangerous job, gone. Vanished. And the culprit, your nosy, power-hungry HOA president, who thought she could play judge, jury, and executioner over your property. But she had no idea that Jeep was wired into a high-stakes police task force operation. What happened next? Buckle up, because this tale of entitlement, betrayal, and sweet, calculated revenge will leave you cheering for justice served cold. My name is Alex Rivera, and I've lived in Willow Creek Estates for 5 years. It's one of those cookie-cutter suburbs where the houses all look the same, the lawns are manicured to perfection, and the HOA rules are enforced with the zeal of a medieval inquisition. I bought my place after a messy divorce, needing a fresh start away from the chaos of city life. Little did I know, the real chaos was lurking in the form of Karen Whitaker, our HOA president. Karen was the epitome of suburban tyranny, a middle-aged woman with a sharp bob haircut, designer tracksuits, and a clipboard that might as well have been a scepter. She patrolled the neighborhood like it was her personal fiefdom, issuing fines for overgrown hedges, unauthorized paint colors, and God forbid, a basketball hoop in the driveway. I kept a low profile. My job demanded it. By day, I was just another quiet resident, working what I told neighbors was a consulting gig from home. In reality, I was a detective with the Metro Police Department's Special Task Force on Narcotics and Organized Crime. We dealt with the underbelly of the city, drug rings, human trafficking, the works. My Jeep Wrangler wasn't just transportation, it was equipped with discreet surveillance gear, encrypted comms, and a hidden compartment for evidence. It looked like any other off-roader, beat up from years of stakeouts, but it was a crucial asset in our ops. I parked it in my garage most days, but sometimes, when I was pulling all-nighters, it'd sit in the driveway under a cover. That's where the trouble started. One weekend, I was deep into an undercover operation tracking a cartel lieutenant who'd been spotted in the area. I hadn't been home in 48 hours, and my Jeep was left in the driveway, covered but visible. Karen had been eyeing it for weeks. She'd sent me a passive-aggressive email about vehicles that appear abandoned, citing some obscure HOA bylaw about aesthetics. I ignored it, bigger fish to fry. But Karen wasn't one to be ignored. It was a sweltering Sunday afternoon when I finally dragged myself home, exhausted and wired on too much coffee. My partner, Detective Maria Santos, dropped me off after our shift. As I approached my house, something felt off. The driveway was empty. My heart plummeted. No, I muttered, fumbling for my keys. The garage door creaked open, revealing nothing. My Jeep was gone. Panic surged through me, not just because it was my ride, but because losing that vehicle could compromise active investigations. Classified tech was inside, if it fell into the wrong hands. I stormed inside, grabbing my phone to call it in, when I noticed a note taped to my front door. In Karen's impeccable cursive, vehicle removed per HOA Guidelines Section 4.2, no abandoned or unsightly vehicles. Towing fee, $250. Retrieve at community lot, abandoned. It had been there 2 days. Rage boiled in my veins, but I pushed it down. I needed to think like a cop, not a victim. The community lot was a fenced-off area behind the clubhouse, where the HOA stored violations, bikes, grills, whatever didn't meet their standards. I jogged over, my mind racing. Sure enough, there was my Jeep, chained to a post with a heavy padlock. But something was wrong. The cover was slashed, and my original lock, the one I'd put on the gate to secure it, was cut clean through, lying in pieces on the ground. Karen hadn't just towed it, she'd broken in, probably to inspect or something. My blood ran cold. If she'd tampered with anything inside. I called Maria immediately. Santos, we've got a problem. HOA which just impounded the task force Jeep. She cut my lock. I need backup, discreet. Maria whistled low. On it. Captain's gonna love this. Stay put. Don't escalate. But escalation was coming, whether I wanted it or not. As I waited, Karen herself pulled up in her pristine SUV, clipboard in hand, a smug smile plastered on her face. She stepped out, adjusting her sunglasses. Mr. Rivera, I see you found your vehicle. As per the rules, you cut my lock, I interrupted, voice steady but edged with steel. That's vandalism, breaking and entering. Her smile faltered for a split second, then hardened. Nonsense. The HOA has authority to remove nuisances. Your Jeep was an eyesore, sitting there like junk. I had it towed for the good of the community. Pay the fine, And it's yours. I stepped closer, towering over her. You have no idea what you've done. That Jeep isn't junk. It's government property. She laughed. A sharp, dismissive bark. Government, please. It's a rusty old thing. If you don't pay, we'll auction it off next month. Rules are rules. Auction it. Over my dead body. Maria arrived minutes later, flashing her badge subtly so as not to draw a crowd. Karen's eyes widened. Police. What's this about? Maria's tone was ice. Ma'am, that vehicle is part of an ongoing investigation. Tampering with it is a federal offense. Karen blanched, but she wasn't backing down. I didn't know. How could I? It's not marked. That's the point, I said quietly. Undercover. The next hour was a blur. We called in the captain, who arrived with a warrant to seize the Jeep back immediately. Karen protested, calling her board members on speakerphone, but it was futile. As the tow truck, ours this time, hauled it away, I saw the defeat in her eyes. But this was just the beginning. She'd crossed a line, and in my world, lines like that demanded consequences. Back at the station, we inspected the Jeep. Sure enough, Karen had rifled through it. Glove compartment open, papers scattered. Nothing missing, but the breach was clear. Captain Hale, a grizzled vet with no patience for civilians meddling in police work, rubbed his chin. Rivera, this could be obstruction. But let's play it smart. Hit her where it hurts, her precious WA. The idea sparked. Revenge, not vigilante style, but legal, calculated, devastating. I dove into research that night, poring over WA bylaws, state laws, and public records. Turns out, Willow Creek's HOA was riddled with issues. Karen had been president for a decade, elected unopposed because no one dared challenge her. But whispers abounded. Embezzlement rumors, selective enforcement, even discrimination against certain families. I started small, anonymous tips to the state attorney general about irregularities in WA finances. Then, I rallied neighbors. Door to door, under the guise of community concerns, I shared stories. Mrs. Patel next door had been fined $500 for a Diwali decoration Karen deemed garish. The Johnsons across the street lost their kids' playhouse because it clashed with the aesthetic. Emotions ran high, tears, anger, long suppressed frustrations bubbling up. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I hosted a secret meeting in my backyard. 15 neighbors crammed onto my patio, sipping coffee, voices hushed. She's a bully, Mr. Thompson said, his hands shaking. Took my boat last year, said it was too big. Cost me thousands to get it back. I nodded, feeling the weight of their pain. We can stop her, but we need evidence. That's when Maria stepped in, off-duty but fierce. She dug into Karen's background. Public records show she's diverted WA funds to her personal account, small amounts, but it adds up. Over $10,000 in the last 3 years. Gasps rippled through the group. It was emotional, raw. These weren't just fines. They were attacks on people's lives, their homes, their sense of security. I shared my story, leaving out classified details, but emphasizing the violation. She cut my lock, invaded my property. If she can do that to me, imagine what else. The plan coalesced. Petition for a special election to oust Karen. But we needed proof of misconduct to force it. I volunteered for the risky part, surveillance. Using non-task force gear couldn't risk compromising ops. I set up discreet cameras around the neighborhood. It felt poetic, turning the tables. Weeks passed, tension building like a storm. Karen sensed something was off. She doubled down, issuing more fines, patrolling more aggressively. One night, she confronted me in my driveway. I know you're stirring trouble, Rivera. Drop it, or I'll make your life hell. I met her gaze, calm. You already did. The breaking point came during a stakeout, not for the cartel, but for Karen. My camera caught her sneaking into the community lot at midnight, clipboard in hand, but this time with a duffel bag. She loaded it with tools, bolt cutters, locks, from the WA shed. Then, horror, she approached a neighbor's shed, one belonging to the Patels, and cut their lock. Inside, she rummaged, emerging with decorations. No, cash. Wait, Mrs. Patel had mentioned storing festival funds there. I zoomed in. Clear as day. Karen pocketing envelopes. Theft. Embezzlement in action. Heart pounding. I called Maria. Got her. Video evidence. The next day, we presented it to the board. Anonymous drop via a lawyer friend. Chaos ensued. Emergency meeting called. Karen denied it. Tears streaming. but the video was irrefutable. It's a setup, she wailed, but no one bought it. The election was swift, Karen ousted by a landslide. But the revenge wasn't done. Charges filed. Vandalism for my lock, theft for the funds. She faced court, fines, community service. Her perfect life crumbled, husband left, friends ghosted. I watched from the back of the courtroom as she broke down, sobbing apologies. Part of me pitied her, the human wreckage of unchecked power. But mostly, satisfaction, justice. In the end, Willow Creek changed. New president, fair rules. I parked my Jeep freely, a symbol of resilience. And Karen, last I heard, she moved to a tiny apartment downtown, far from HOAs. Lesson learned. Never mess with someone's ride, especially if it's backed by the badge.